Ladies and gentlemen, hear me carefully. Greatness is not a mystery. Success is not a miracle. And becoming unstoppable is not reserved for a chosen few. It is the result of daily habits, disciplined, intentional actions repeated consistently over time. You don't become powerful overnight. You become powerful by what you do every single day. The tragedy of life is not death. The tragedy of life is living without purpose, drifting without direction, and dying without ever discovering your true potential. So today, I want to give you 7 daily habits principles, not suggestions that will transform you into a person who cannot be stopped. Every morning you wake up, you are given something more valuable than money, more powerful than influence, and more limited than you realize. You are given time, and the way you begin your day determines how that time will be spent, how your energy will be directed, and ultimately how your life will unfold. Most people do not understand this. They wake up already tired, already overwhelmed, already reacting. The alarm rings, and instead of rising with intention, they rise with pressure. Pressure from responsibilities, pressure from expectations, pressure from yesterday's failures and tomorrow's fears. And so, before they even step out of bed, they have already surrendered control of their day. But you were not created to live like that. You were not designed to wake up as a victim of circumstance. You were created to be a person of purpose, a person of intention, a person who directs their life rather than reacts to it. And that is why the first habit you must develop if you want to become unstoppable is this. You must start your day with purpose, not pressure. Purpose is not something you stumble upon during the day. Purpose must be established before the day begins. If you do not define your day will define you. If you do not set the agenda for your life, someone else will. And the tragedy is that many people spend their entire lives living agendas they never chose, chasing goals they never defined, and fulfilling expectations that were never assigned to them by their true calling. You see, purpose is the original intent for your existence. It is the reason you were created. And when you understand that, you stop waking up randomly. You stop moving without direction. You stop allowing every notification, every message, every demand to pull you in different directions. Instead, you wake up with clarity. You wake up knowing that this day is not ordinary. This day is an opportunity to fulfill something meaningful. The first few moments of your morning are critical. They set the tone for everything that follows. If the first thing you do is reach for your phone, you are allowing the world to tell you who to be before you even remember who you are. You are allowing external voices to shape your internal state. And that is dangerous because whatever captures your attention in the morning often controls your direction for the rest of the day. An unstoppable person does not wake up and immediately consume information. They wake up and establish identity. They remind themselves of who they are, what they are capable of, and what they are responsible for. They take a moment to become aware, to become centered, to become aligned. Because when you are aligned with your purpose, distractions lose their power. You must learn to speak to yourself before the world speaks to you. You must learn to declare your intentions before circumstances try to dictate them. This is not just motivational language. This is a principle of life. Whatever you rehearse consistently in your mind becomes the foundation of your behavior. If you wake up thinking, I am tired, I am stressed, I have too much to do, then your day will follow that script. But if you wake up thinking, I am focused, I am capable, I am assigned to something meaningful today, then your actions will align with that belief. Purpose eliminates confusion. It gives structure to your day. It helps you decide what matters and what does not. Without purpose, everything seems important. Every message feels urgent. Every distraction looks attractive. But when purpose is clear, you develop the ability to say no. You begin to understand that not everything deserves your time, not everything deserves your energy, and not everything deserves your attention. Many people are busy, but they are not productive. They are active, but they are not effective. Why? Because they are moving without purpose. Movement without purpose is just noise. It creates the illusion of progress without the reality of it. But when you start your day with purpose, every action becomes intentional. Every decision becomes strategic. Every step becomes meaningful. You must also understand that purpose gives you strength. Life will challenge you. There will be days when you do not feel motivated, when things do not go as planned, when obstacles appear without warning. If you are living based on feelings, those days will defeat you. But if you are living based on purpose, those days will refine you. Because purpose is stronger than emotion. Purpose is what keeps you moving when motivation fades. That is why you cannot depend on how you feel in the morning. Feelings are unstable. They change based on circumstances, based on mood, based on external factors. But purpose is constant. Purpose does not change because you are tired. Purpose does not disappear because things are difficult. Purpose remains, and it demands your attention, your commitment, and your discipline. When you wake up with purpose, you stop negotiating with procrastination. You stop making excuses. You stop delaying what you know you are supposed to do. Because deep down you understand that your life is not your own. It is a responsibility. You have been given gifts, talents, abilities, and opportunities, and each day is a chance to use them. To waste a day is to ignore that responsibility. To drift through a day is to neglect that assignment. And here is the truth. You do not need a perfect plan to start your day with purpose. You simply need clarity about what matters most. You need to identify the one or two things that will move your life forward, and you need to commit to them before anything else. That is how unstoppable people operate. They do not try to do everything, they focus on what is essential. Starting your day with purpose also means protecting your peace. It means not allowing negativity, fear, or doubt to dominate your thinking. It means creating a mental environment where clarity can thrive. Because if your mind is cluttered, your actions will be scattered. But if your mind is focused, your actions will be powerful. You must train yourself to pause in the morning, even if it is just for a few minutes, and connect with your purpose. Reflect on your goals. Visualize your progress. Remind yourself of your assignment. This is not wasted time. This is preparation. Just as an athlete prepares before a game, you must prepare before your day. Because life is not something you should enter casually. It is something you should approach intentionally. When you develop this habit, something begins to change within you. You become less reactive and more proactive. You become less distracted and more focused. You become less overwhelmed and more in control. And over time, this daily practice begins to shape your identity. You no longer see yourself as someone who is trying to get through the day. You see yourself as someone who is leading the day. And that is the difference. That is what separates those who are average from those who are unstoppable. It is not talent, it is not luck, it is not even opportunity. It is the decision to live with purpose, one day at a time. So tomorrow morning, when you wake up, do not rush into the noise. Do not surrender to pressure. Take a moment, center yourself. Remind yourself of who you are and why you are here. And then step into your day with intention, with clarity, and with purpose. Because when you start your day with purpose, you are no longer reacting to life. You are creating it. Your mind is the most powerful tool you possess, yet it is also the most neglected. It is the control center of your life, the source of your decisions, the birthplace of your beliefs, and the architect of your future. Everything you become begins first as a thought. Every action you take is a reflection of something you have accepted in your mind. And if you do not learn to discipline your mind, you will live a life that is constantly influenced, controlled, and shaped by forces outside of you. You must understand this clearly. Your mind does not remain neutral. It is either being trained or it is being programmed. It is either under your control or under the control of your environment. There is no middle ground. And that is why this habit is not optional. If you desire to become unstoppable, you must take responsibility for your thinking on a daily basis. Most people live their lives on mental autopilot. They wake up and immediately begin to think the same thoughts they thought yesterday. They rehearse past failures. They magnify current problems, and they anticipate future difficulties. Without realizing it, they are conditioning their minds for limitation. They are building internal barriers that prevent them from stepping into their full potential. And then they wonder why their lives do not change. You cannot produce a positive life with a negative mindset. It is impossible. Your thoughts are like seeds, and your life is the harvest. If you plant doubt, fear, and negativity, you will reap confusion, hesitation, and frustration. But if you plant clarity, confidence, and purpose, you will reap action, discipline, and results. The quality of your thinking determines the quality of your life. That is why you must become intentional about what you allow into your mind. Every day, you are being exposed to information through conversations, social media, news, and your environment. And all of it is influencing you, whether you realize it or not. If you do not filter what enters your mind, you will eventually become a product of everything around you. And the world is not designed to build your purpose. It is designed to capture your attention. An unstoppable person understands that their mind must be protected. They do not allow just anything to occupy their thoughts. They are selective about what they listen to, what they watch, and what they engage with, because they know that whatever dominates their mind will eventually dominate their behavior. But disciplining your mind is not just about avoiding negative input. It is also about actively feeding your mind with what is necessary for growth. You must develop the habit of learning daily. Read something that challenges your thinking. Listen to something that expands your perspective. Expose yourself to ideas that stretch your capacity, because your mind grows when it is challenged, not when it is comfortable. Comfort is the enemy of mental discipline. When you remain in a state of comfort, your thinking becomes stagnant. You stop questioning, you stop exploring, and you stop growing. But when you intentionally push your mind beyond its current limits, you begin to develop new ways of thinking, new ways of solving problems, and new levels of understanding. And that is where transformation begins. You must also learn to control your internal dialogue. The way you speak to yourself matters more than the way others speak to you, because even when no one else is around, you are still listening to your own thoughts. And if your internal voice is filled with doubt, criticism, and fear, it will slowly weaken your confidence and distort your perception of what is possible. Many people are not defeated by external challenges. They are defeated by internal conversations. They tell themselves they are not good enough. They convince themselves that they cannot succeed. They replay their mistakes and use them as evidence of their limitations. And over time, these thoughts become beliefs, and those beliefs become their reality. You must interrupt that pattern. You must take control of your thoughts and align them with truth. This does not mean ignoring reality. It means interpreting reality through the lens of purpose and possibility. It means choosing to focus on solutions instead of problems, growth instead of failure, and potential instead of limitation. This requires discipline. It requires consistency, because your mind will not change overnight. It has been shaped by years of experiences, influences, and habits. But just as it was conditioned over time, it can be reconditioned over time. Every time you replace a negative thought with a positive one, you are rewiring your thinking. Every time you challenge a limiting belief, you are expanding your capacity. Every time you focus on what is possible instead of what is difficult, you are strengthening your mindset. You must also understand that your mind responds to repetition. Whatever you consistently think about becomes familiar, and whatever becomes familiar begins to feel natural. That is why you must deliberately repeat empowering thoughts. You must remind yourself daily of your goals, your vision, and your potential. You must rehearse success in your mind before you experience it in reality. Visualization is not imagination. It is preparation. When you see yourself succeeding, when you mentally rehearse your progress, you are training your mind to accept that outcome as possible. And once your mind accepts something as possible, your actions begin to align with it. Another critical aspect of mental discipline is focus. In a world filled with distractions, the ability to concentrate is a rare and powerful skill. Most people cannot focus for extended periods because their minds have been trained to constantly shift from one thing to another. Notifications, messages, and endless streams of content have weakened their attention span, and as a result, they struggle to complete tasks, to think deeply, and to make meaningful progress. An unstoppable person develops the ability to focus. They train their mind to stay on one task at a time. They eliminate unnecessary distractions. They create environments that support concentration, because they understand that where attention goes, energy flows. And where energy flows, results follow. You must also learn to manage your emotions through your thinking. Emotions are not the enemy, but they must be governed. If you allow your emotions to control your thoughts, you will become unstable. But if you train your thoughts to guide your emotions, you will develop stability. This does not mean suppressing how you feel. It means not allowing your feelings to dictate your actions. There will be days when you feel tired, discouraged, or uncertain. That is part of being human. But in those moments, your discipline must take over. You must remind yourself of what is true, of what matters, and of what you are committed to. Because if you only act when you feel like it, you will never reach your full potential. Disciplining your mind is a daily practice. It is not something you do once and then forget. It is something you commit to every single day. It is in the books you read, the thoughts you entertain, the conversations you engage in, and the way you respond to challenges. It is in the small, consistent decisions that shape your thinking over time. And as you develop this habit, you will begin to notice a shift. You will think more clearly. You will respond more intentionally. You will feel more in control. Situations that once overwhelmed you will no longer have the same power. Challenges that once intimidated you will become opportunities for growth. Because when your mind is disciplined, your life becomes directed. You are no longer easily shaken. You are no longer easily distracted. You are no longer easily defeated. And that is what makes you unstoppable. Time is the one resource that every human being receives equally, yet it is the one resource that produces the greatest inequality in results. Every day you are given 24 hours, no more, no less. The wealthy do not get extra time. The successful are not granted additional hours. The difference is not in the amount of time given, but in how that time is used. And if you do not learn to master your time will master you. Most people do not control their time. They respond to it. They wake up and immediately become servants to urgency. Messages, notifications, responsibilities, and demands begin to dictate their actions. Instead of leading their day, they are dragged through it. And by the time the day ends, they feel exhausted, yet unfulfilled. Busy, yet unproductive. Active, yet ineffective. You must understand that activity is not the same as productivity. Being busy does not mean you are progressing. You can spend your entire day moving from one task to another and still not accomplish anything meaningful. Why? Because movement without direction is simply motion, not progress. And progress is what determines your results. To become unstoppable, you must shift from reacting to time to managing it. You must take ownership of your day before your day takes ownership of you. This begins with a clear understanding that time is not something you spend, it is something you invest. Every hour you use is an investment, and every investment produces a return. The question is not whether you are investing your time, but whether you are investing it wisely. Unstoppable people do not treat time casually. They treat it as a precious asset. They recognize that every moment wasted is an opportunity, lost an opportunity to grow, to build, to move forward. And once that moment is gone, it cannot be recovered. You can earn back money, you can rebuild relationships, you can restore many things in life, but you can never reclaim lost time. That realization should change how you approach your day. It should cause you to become more intentional, more focused, more disciplined. Because when you understand the value of time, you stop giving it away to things that do not matter. You stop allowing distractions to steal your attention. You stop engaging in activities that do not align with your purpose. One of the greatest challenges in mastering time is learning to prioritize. Not everything is important, and not everything deserves your attention. But if you do not decide what matters most, everything will begin to feel equally urgent. And when everything feels urgent, you lose clarity, you become overwhelmed, you begin to react instead of act. You must develop the ability to identify what is essential. What are the tasks, the actions, the commitments that actually move your life forward? What contributes to your purpose? What produces real results? These are the things that must take priority in your day. This requires discipline because your feelings will often try to lead you in a different direction. You may feel like doing what is easy instead of what is necessary. You may feel like delaying what is important in favor of what is comfortable. But if you follow your feelings, you will fall into a cycle of procrastination. And procrastination is one of the greatest thieves of time. Procrastination is not just about laziness. It is about mismanagement. It is the habit of postponing what you know should be done. And every time you delay, you create pressure. You turn something simple into something stressful. You reduce the quality of your work and increase the level of anxiety in your life. An unstoppable person does not wait for the perfect moment. They understand that the perfect moment rarely comes. Instead, they take action when it is necessary, not when it is convenient. They do what needs to be done, even when they do not feel like doing it, because they know that discipline today creates freedom tomorrow. Another important aspect of mastering time is structure. Without structure, your day becomes chaotic. You move from one thing to another without a clear plan, and as a result, you waste time trying to decide what to do next. Decision-making consumes energy, and when you make too many unnecessary decisions, you become mentally fatigued. A structured day eliminates that confusion. It provides clarity. It allows you to focus your energy on execution instead of constantly figuring things out. This does not mean your day must be rigid or inflexible, but it must have direction. You must have a plan. Even if it is simple, you must know what you're going to do before the day begins. Planning is not a restriction, it is a tool for effectiveness. It ensures that your time is aligned with your priorities. It helps you stay on track when distractions arise. And it gives you a sense of control over your day, rather than leaving you at the mercy of circumstances. You must also learn to protect your time. Not everyone deserves access to your schedule. Not every request deserves a yes. If you are not careful, people will fill your day with their priorities, leaving no room for your own. And while it is important to be helpful and supportive, you must not do so at the expense of your purpose. Saying no is not selfish, it is necessary. It is a way of preserving your focus and maintaining your direction. Every time you say yes to something, you are saying no to something else. And if you say yes to everything, you will eventually say no to what matters most. Distractions are another major obstacle to mastering time. In today's world, distractions are everywhere. Your phone, social media, entertainment, and constant notifications are all competing for your attention. And if you are not intentional, they will consume your time without you even realizing it. An unstoppable person creates boundaries. They limit distractions. They set specific times for focused work and protect those times fiercely. They understand that deep, uninterrupted work is what produces meaningful results, and they're willing to eliminate anything that interferes with that process. You must also recognize the importance of consistency. Mastering time is not about having one perfect day. It is about developing a pattern of effective days. Small, consistent actions, repeated over time, create significant results. It is not what you do occasionally that defines your success. It is what you do daily. When you consistently invest your time in the right areas, you begin to see progress, and progress builds momentum. It creates confidence, it reinforces discipline, and over time, it transforms your life. Time management is ultimately life management. The way you use your time reflects your values, your priorities, and your level of discipline. If your time is disorganized, your life will be disorganized. But if your time is structured, your life will begin to align. And as you develop this habit, you will begin to experience a shift. You will feel more in control. You will accomplish more with less stress. You will move through your day with clarity and intention. And instead of feeling like time is slipping away, you will feel like you are making the most of every moment. Because when you master your time, you position yourself for impact. You create space for growth. You build a life that is not driven by urgency, but guided by purpose. And that is the kind of life that cannot be stopped. Growth is not something that happens by accident. It is not something you stumble into because of luck, nor is it something reserved for a special group of people. Growth is a decision. It is a commitment you make every single day to become more than you were yesterday. And if you do not make that commitment intentionally, you will slowly drift into stagnation without even realizing it. You must understand that life does not reward comfort, it rewards development. The moment you become satisfied with where you are, you begin to decline, not because you are failing, but because you are no longer progressing. There is no such thing as standing still in life. You are either moving forward or you are falling behind, and the difference is determined by your willingness to grow daily. Most people desire success, but very few are committed to the process of growth that success requires. They want the results without the refinement. They want the reward without the responsibility. But success is not something you pursue directly. It is something that becomes attracted to you as a result of who you become. And who you become is shaped by what you learn, how you think, and how you improve over time. An unstoppable person understands that their greatest asset is not what they have, it is what they are becoming. They invest in themselves relentlessly. They recognize that their value in life is directly connected to their capacity, and capacity is expanded through growth. The more you grow, the more you can handle. The more you can handle, the more you can achieve. And the more you achieve, the greater your impact becomes. This is why you must develop a daily habit of learning. Your mind was designed to expand, to explore, to understand. But if you stop feeding it with new information, it begins to shrink into routine thinking. You start to rely on old ideas, outdated beliefs, and limited perspectives. And eventually, your results begin to reflect that limitation. Growth requires exposure. You must expose yourself to new ideas, new skills, and new ways of thinking. You must be willing to challenge what you currently know and accept the possibility that there is more to learn. Because the moment you believe you know enough is the moment you stop growing. But growth is not just about acquiring information, it is about applying it. Knowledge without application is wasted potential. You can read books, listen to teachings, and gather insights. But if you do not implement what you learn, your life will not change. Transformation happens when knowledge becomes action. That is where discipline comes in. Because applying what you learn is not always easy. It requires effort, consistency, and sometimes discomfort. You will have to step outside of your auspice, squash, shares, challenge your scorspits and send five. Now do things that feel unfamiliar. But that is the nature of growth. It stretches you beyond your current limits so that you can develop new ones. Discomfort is not a sign that something is wrong. It is a sign that something is changing. When you feel challenged, when you feel stretched, when you feel uncertain, it means you are expanding. And instead of avoiding that feeling, you must learn to embrace it, because everything you desire is on the other side of growth. Another important aspect of daily growth is self-awareness. You must take time to evaluate yourself honestly. Where are you improving? Where are you struggling? What habits are helping you and which ones are holding you back? Without self-awareness, growth becomes sluck-awareness. Growth becomes Sakavlog-Zuin-Zurge. But with self-awareness, growth becomes intentional. You must be willing to confront your weaknesses without being discouraged by them. Your weaknesses are not your identity. They are areas for development. And the more you address them, the stronger you become. At the same time, you must also recognize your strengths and build on them. Because growth is not just about fixing what is wrong, it is also about maximizing what is right. Consistency is the foundation of growth. It is not what you do once that changes your life. It is what you do repeatedly. Small improvements made daily create significant transformation over time. You may not see immediate results, and that can be frustrating. But growth is a process. It happens gradually, often beneath the surface, before it becomes visible. You must trust the process even when you do not see progress. You must remain committed even when results are delayed, because every effort you make is building something within you. Every lesson you learn is adding to your capacity, and every step you take is moving you closer to who you are meant to become. An unstoppable person does not measure their success only by outcomes. They measure it by growth. They understand that as long as they are improving, they are winning. Because growth ensures that their future will be greater than their past. You must also surround yourself with environments that support your growth. The people you interact with, the content you consume, and the conversations you engage in all influence your development. If you are in an environment that discourages growth, you will struggle to progress. But if you are in an environment that challenges and inspires you, growth becomes natural. Finally, you must adopt a mindset of lifelong learning. Growth does not have an endpoint. There is always another level to reach, another skill to develop, another perspective to understand. The moment you stop growing is the moment you limit your potential. So every day you must make a decision. You must choose to learn, to improve, to stretch, and to become better than you were before. Not because it is easy, but because it is necessary. Not because you feel like it, but because your purpose demands it. Because when you commit to daily growth, you are not just changing your habits, you are transforming your identity. And once your identity changes, your results have no choice but to follow. Whether you realize it or not, your environment is shaping you every single day. It is influencing how you think, how you feel, how you behave, and ultimately, who you become. You are not just a product of your decisions. You are also a product of what surrounds you. And if you do not take control of your environment will take control of you. Many people underestimate this principle. They believe that as long as they have strong intentions, they can thrive anywhere. But the truth is, even the strongest intentions can be weakened by the wrong environment. You cannot consistently think positively if you are constantly surrounded by negativity. You cannot build discipline if you are immersed in distraction. You cannot pursue purpose if you are constantly pulled into confusion. Your environment feeds your habits. It reinforces your mindset. It either pushes you forward or holds you back. And that is why an unstoppable person becomes extremely intentional about what they allow into their space. They understand that success is not just about internal strength. It is also about external influence. The people around you play one of the most powerful roles in shaping your life. Conversations are not neutral. They transfer energy, ideas, and perspectives. If you spend most of your time with people who complain, who doubt, who lack vision, you will begin to adopt the same mindset. Not because you want to, but because constant exposure creates familiarity, and familiarity shapes belief. On the other hand, when you surround yourself with people who are focused, disciplined, and purpose-driven, something begins to change within you. Their mindset challenges yours. Their standards elevate yours. Their actions inspire yours. And without even realizing it, you begin to grow into a higher version of yourself. This does not mean you must disconnect from everyone who is not where you want to be, but it does mean you must be aware of influence. You must recognize who is adding value to your life and who is draining it. Because time spent in the wrong company is not just wasted, it is destructive. Beyond people, your environment also includes what you consume daily. The content you watch, the music you listen to, the information you engage with, it all enters your mind and shapes your thinking. If you constantly consume content that is negative, shallow, or distracting, it will affect your focus and your motivation. It will slowly lower your standards and weaken your discipline. An unstoppable person does not consume content carelessly. They are selective. They choose information that aligns with their purpose, that expands their thinking, and that strengthens their mindset. They treat their mind like a garden, understanding that whatever they allow in will eventually grow. Your physical environment matters as well. The space you spend your time in can either support your productivity or hinder it. A cluttered, disorganized space often leads to a cluttered, disorganized mind. It creates distraction, reduces focus, and makes it harder to think clearly. But a clean, organized, and intentional space promotes clarity, discipline, and efficiency. You do not need a perfect environment to succeed, but you do need a supportive one. You must create spaces that encourage focus, that minimize distraction, and that align with your goals. Even small changes can make a significant difference. When your environment reflects your intentions, it becomes easier to act in alignment with them. Another important aspect of controlling your environment is setting boundaries. Not everything deserves your attention, and not everyone deserves access to your time and energy. If you are constantly available to everything and everyone, you will eventually become unavailable for what truly matters. Boundaries are not about isolation, they are about protection. They protect your focus, your energy, and your purpose. They allow you to create space for what is important and eliminate what is unnecessary. And while it may feel uncomfortable at first to say no or to limit certain influences, it is essential for your growth. Distractions are one of the greatest threats to your environment. In today's world, distractions are everywhere, constantly competing for your attention. And if you do not actively control them, they will consume your time and dilute your focus. An unstoppable person does not leave their focus to chance. They eliminate unnecessary distractions and create systems that help them stay on track. This might mean turning off notifications, limiting time on social media, or creating specific periods for focused work. It might mean choosing silence over noise, clarity over chaos. These decisions may seem small, but they have a powerful impact over time. Because focus is not something you find, it is something you create. You must also understand that your environment is not fixed. You have the power to change it. You have the ability to choose what you allow, what you remove, and what you introduce into your life. And every change you make, no matter how small, moves you closer to the environment you need to thrive. An unstoppable person takes full responsibility for their environment. They do not blame circumstances. They adjust them. They do not complain about influence. They manage it. They understand that while they may not control everything around them, they can control how they respond and what they tolerate. And as you begin to take control of your environment, you will notice something powerful. Your habits will become easier to maintain. Your focus will become stronger. Your mindset will become more positive, and your progress will become more consistent. Because when your environment supports your purpose, your growth accelerates. You no longer have to fight against everything around you. Instead, everything around you begins to work in your favor, and that is the power of controlling your environment. It is not just about changing what is around you. It is about creating conditions where your best self can thrive. There is a difference between knowing what to do and actually doing it. Many people have ideas, dreams, and plans, but very few translate those things into consistent action. And the truth is simple. Your life does not change because of what you know. It changes because of what you do. Knowledge has potential, but action produces results. And if you want to become unstoppable, you must develop the discipline of taking consistent action, no excuses, no delays, no negotiation. You must understand that action is the bridge between vision and reality. Without it, your goals remain imagination. You can spend years thinking, planning, and preparing, but if you never act, nothing will move. Progress is not a product of intention, it is a product of execution. And execution requires you to step beyond comfort and into responsibility. One of the greatest reasons people fail to act is because they are waiting for the perfect moment. They believe they need more time, more clarity, more confidence, or better conditions before they begin. But the perfect moment is an illusion. Conditions are rarely ideal, and if you wait for everything to align, you will spend your life waiting. Unstoppable people understand this. They do not wait for perfect conditions. They act in imperfect ones. Action creates clarity. Many people think they need clarity before they act, but in reality, clarity often comes through action. When you begin, you learn. When you try, you discover. When you move, you gain insight. But when you hesitate, you remain stuck in uncertainty. Movement reveals what thinking alone cannot. Fear is another barrier that stops people from taking action. Fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of making mistakes. These fears can become so powerful that they paralyze progress. But you must understand that fear is not a signal to stop. It is a signal to grow. It indicates that you are stepping into something unfamiliar, something that has the potential to stretch you. An unstoppable person does not eliminate fear. They move in spite of it. They recognize that courage is not the absence of fear, but the decision to act despite it. And every time you act in the presence of fear, you weaken its control. You prove to yourself that you are capable, that you are resilient, and that you can handle more than you thought. Consistency is what transforms action into results. Taking action once is not enough. Taking action occasionally is not enough. You must act daily, repeatedly, persistently. Because success is not built on isolated efforts, it is built on sustained commitment. Small actions done consistently create momentum, and momentum is what carries you forward even when motivation fades. You cannot rely on motivation to take action. Motivation is temporary. It comes and goes based on how you feel, and feelings are not stable. If you only act when you feel motivated, your progress will be inconsistent. But discipline is different. Discipline does not depend on how you feel. It depends on what you decide. It is the ability to do what needs to be done, even when you do not feel like doing it. An unstoppable person operates from discipline, not emotion. They have made a decision about who they are and what they are committed to, and they align their actions with that decision daily. They do not negotiate with excuses. They do not justify delays. They do not allow temporary discomfort to prevent long-term progress. Excuses are one of the greatest enemies of action. They appear logical, reasonable, and even convincing. I don't have enough time. I'm not ready. I'll start tomorrow. These statements may sound harmless, but they are dangerous because every excuse delays progress, and repeated delays eventually become a habit of inaction. You must become aware of the excuses you make and confront them honestly. Ask yourself, is this a real limitation, or is it a way of avoiding discomfort? Most of the time, it is the latter. Growth requires effort, and effort often feels uncomfortable. But avoiding that discomfort only keeps you stuck. Taking action also requires you to accept imperfection. Your first attempt will not be your best. Your early efforts may be messy, uncertain, and incomplete, but that is part of the process. Progress is not about perfection, it is about improvement. Every action you take refines your skill, sharpens your understanding, and brings you closer to mastery. Perfectionism can be just as paralyzing as fear. It convinces you that your work must be flawless before it is seen, that your plan must be complete before it is executed. But perfection is not a starting point. It is a result of continuous improvement, and the only way to improve is to begin. You must also learn to focus your actions. Not all actions are equal. Some move you forward significantly, while others have little impact. Being busy does not mean you are effective. You must identify the actions that align with your purpose and prioritize them. These are the actions that deserve your energy, your attention, and your consistency. An unstoppable person does not try to do everything at once. They focus on what matters most and commit to it fully. They take one step at a time, but they take those steps consistently. And over time, those steps create a path of progress that cannot be ignored. Accountability can also strengthen your ability to take action. When you hold yourself accountable, you create a standard that you must meet. You stop making promises you do not keep. You begin to take your commitments seriously. And this builds trust not just with others, but with yourself. Because every time you follow through on your actions, you reinforce your identity as someone who is disciplined, reliable, and committed. And that identity shapes your future behavior. You begin to see yourself as a person who takes action, and that belief makes it easier to continue. At the end of the day, action is what separates potential from reality. You may have the ability, the talent, and the vision, but without action, none of it matters. The world does not respond to what you intend to do. It responds to what you actually do. So you must decide. You must choose to act, even when it is uncomfortable. You must choose to move, even when it is uncertain. You must choose to execute, even when it is imperfect. Because when you develop the habit of taking consistent action, you remove the greatest barrier between you and your goals. You stop waiting, you stop hesitating, and you start progressing. And once you reach that point, nothing can hold you back. At the end of each day, when the noise settles and the activity comes to a pause, there is a powerful opportunity that most people ignore. It is not found in doing more, achieving more, or chasing more. It is found in stopping, reflecting, and appreciating. This quiet moment, often overlooked, is where growth is solidified, clarity is restored, and strength is renewed. And if you want to become truly unstoppable, you must develop the habit of ending your day with reflection and gratitude. Most people end their day the same way they began, distracted, rushed, and mentally scattered. They move from one activity to another until exhaustion forces them to rest. There is no evaluation, no awareness, no intentional closure, and as a result, they repeat the same patterns day after day without improvement. They live in cycles, not progressions. But an unstoppable person does not live on autopilot. They live with awareness. They understand that every day is a lesson, every experience is feedback, and every action has something to teach. And the only way to extract that value is through reflection. Reflection is the process of reviewing your day with honesty and intention. It is where you step back and ask yourself important questions. What did I do well today? Where did I fall short? What decisions moved me forward and which ones held me back? What can I improve tomorrow? These questions are not meant to produce guilt or regret. They are meant to produce growth. You cannot improve what you do not evaluate. If you never take the time to assess your actions, you will continue repeating mistakes without realizing it. Reflection brings awareness, and awareness creates the opportunity for change. It allows you to identify patterns, correct behaviors, and refine your approach. This process requires honesty. You must be willing to look at yourself without excuses, without denial, and without distortion. It is easy to justify your actions, to blame circumstances, or to overlook your shortcomings. But growth does not happen in comfort. It happens in truth. And when you face the truth about your day, you gain the power to change your tomorrow. At the same time, reflection is not only about identifying what went wrong. It is also about recognizing what went right. Too many people focus only on their failures and ignore their progress. They overlook small victories, dismiss improvements, and undervalue their efforts. But acknowledging your wins is just as important as correcting your mistakes. When you recognize what you did well, you reinforce positive behavior. You build confidence, you create momentum, and you remind yourself that you are moving forward, even if progress feels slow. Growth is often subtle, and without reflection, it can go unnoticed. Alongside reflection, gratitude is essential. Gratitude shifts your perspective. It moves your focus from what is missing to what is present. It changes how you see your life, your challenges, and your journey. Instead of constantly chasing what you do not have, you begin to appreciate what you already possess. An ungrateful mindset creates dissatisfaction. It makes you feel like nothing is enough, like progress is meaningless, like success is always out of reach. But a grateful mindset brings contentment without killing ambition. It allows you to pursue more while appreciating what is. Gratitude also strengthens your emotional state. It reduces stress, increases positivity, and creates a sense of peace. No matter how difficult your day may have been, there is always something to be grateful for. It could be an opportunity, a lesson, a moment of growth, or even the strength to keep going. When you focus on these things, you train your mind to see value in every experience. Ending your day with gratitude also prepares you for the next day. It clears your mind of negativity, releases tension, and creates a positive foundation for what is ahead. Instead of carrying frustration, disappointment, or stress into the next day, you reset your mindset. You begin again with clarity and strength. This habit does not require a long process. It can be simple, but it must be intentional. Take a few moments before you sleep to pause. Disconnect from distractions. Reflect on your day. Identify one or two things you can improve. Acknowledge one or two things you did well, and then focus on what you are grateful for. Consistency is what makes this practice powerful. Doing it once may feel helpful, but doing it daily creates transformation. Over time, you will begin to notice patterns in your behavior. You will become more aware of your habits, your decisions, and your progress. And that awareness will make it easier to grow. You will also develop a stronger sense of control over your life. Instead of feeling like your days are happening to you, you will feel like you are shaping them. Each day becomes a building block, intentionally placed, leading toward a greater vision. Reflection and gratitude also protect your mindset. Life will not always go as planned. There will be setbacks, challenges, and unexpected difficulties. But when you have this habit, you are better equipped to handle them. Reflection helps you learn from challenges, and gratitude helps you maintain perspective through them. An unstoppable person is not someone who never faces difficulties. It is someone who learns from every experience and remains grounded through every situation. And this habit builds that strength. As you continue this practice, you will find that your days become more meaningful. You are no longer just going through routines. You are growing, learning, and improving with intention. You begin to see each day as an opportunity, not an obligation. And over time, these small moments of reflection and gratitude create a powerful effect. They shape your mindset, refine your actions, and strengthen your discipline. They turn ordinary days into stepping stones toward an extraordinary life. Because at the end of the day, it is not just what you do that matters. It is what you learn, what you appreciate, and how you prepare for what comes next. And when you master that, you create a cycle of continuous growth that cannot be stopped.